Burnouts can happen to everyone at any time because life is such a long-ass marathon, and everything that you and I do in our creative passions are going to have moments where we just fizzle out or run out of steam. So I used to have this really bad habit whenever I would burn out. It wouldn't just be like oh, I'm tired, I need a break. I would always work myself to the bone, to the point of just crashing and burning. And I would just be out for such a long time. And it's just kind of like reflecting back on that, I was doing a lot of unhealthy things that was implying a lot of imbalance in my life. And I've learned to correct a lot of those bad habits to kind of promote longevity in this long creative life that I want to live. But there was one thing that I reflected back on during those hard times, right? Because when I'm in the zone, when I'm in the flow state, not just for a day, but for months on end, of course there would be obstacles that would come up in my goals to create something, but because of my flow state, because of my excitement, I'll be able to push through all that stuff. And the one thing that I learned from those reflections is that creativity without direction will lead to burnout. With any path that we go down in life, hurdles and potholes are bound to be on it. There is no such thing as a goal without obstacles, but a goal and a direction is so important, so important, because that is the thing that makes all the obstacles truly worthwhile. So there's this series that I started not too long ago on this channel about the opening of my debut photo exhibition and the steps that I'm taking leading up towards that. And as you can imagine, for a first timer like me, I ran into a few problems already. Number one, technical difficulties. I'm working with a machine that is from the mid 2000s and it's old tech, and I have to learn how to use old software, and I need to learn how to maintain it and clean it. And it is one of my biggest pet peeves with working with any technology, is that when it's old and when it just doesn't work. My literal first problem with this printer was literally plugging it into my laptop, and I was on customer service for I think it was like an hour and 45 minutes to only come to the conclusion that I just needed a certain cable. I own plenty of cables in this apartment, and it was the one thing that I didn't own. It was frustrating, it was annoying, but I dealt with it and we're pressing forward. So that was problem number one. Now I'm dealing with problem number two, which is kind of dealing with the future hurdles. And some of those things are, maybe I should be timing this gallery with a potential book that I should be releasing at the same time. Obviously I have to think about the location, and obviously thinking about a strategy and how to promote this gallery as well. And I have plenty of ideas that excite me and that inspire me to keep pushing forward with this. And these are all problems that I've never dealt with before in my photography creative career. All of these obstacles are brand new and they are all expensive, whether it's expensive in time or expensive in money. But because I have a direction and a goal, none of these things really bother me that much. But if you can imagine that I just bought this huge printer willy-nilly just to have fun with it and experiment and just learn how to print arbitrarily, I feel like these obstacles that I'm running into would have completely stopped me from continuing any further. It wouldn't have been deemed worth my time or my energy, or to just, learn past these difficulties. And it would have been a straight no thank you from me. So for that example, dealing with the learning curve is all worthwhile because my goal is to have that debut photo exhibition. Now that's a tangible goal, right? Sometimes we don't really need a tangible goal. It doesn't need to end with something being created, right? It could be arbitrary as well. An example that I have for this is my summer that I spent at West 4th. I had no tangible goal of making anything. I just got myself in there with my camera and I just had fun. The direction wasn't really that strong, but I was having so much fun and I knew that I could have as much fun figuring it out in real time. Sometimes creativity needs a boundary and a restraint to work within, because if it's just a broad field, you could go in 1 million different ways and that could lead to burnout. So my boundary for this West 4th thing was that it would only be for one summer long, because that league was only a summer league. I had 90 days to figure it out, and technically it was even less than that because it didn't last the whole entire summer, but that was all I needed to stay focused. And the video that I ended up creating was only like 40 to 50% through that league, and what I came out with at the very end of it was a beautiful body of work. I feel like if I had just kept visiting that court every single day with no direction and with no boundaries, and it would just kind of go on in perpetuity, I feel like I would have definitely burned out because I was just like, what am I doing here? How do my photos or my creativity grow from this? Or what can I even do to do more? And I also have an example of that as well. So I tried to do the same thing that I did over there and apply it to the Met. Similar to the West 4th project, there was no tangible goal. I didn't know what I was going to make at the end of this, but I just had the direction of placing myself in that gigantic museum with my camera no matter what. So I started having fun. I was shooting around, I was exploring, I was observing the art, and I was observing the people observing the art. And I was like, okay, maybe this could be something. Maybe I would photograph how people interact with art in the Met. But it just kept going and going and going, and it just felt tiring and unrewarding. And yeah, with any creative project, there are going to be those ebbs and flows where it's going to feel unrewarding and tiring, and you're just gonna have to push past that because the goal that you set out is gonna make it all worthwhile. But with this Met project, there was no goal, there wasn't really a direction, there are no boundaries because it was going on in perpetuity. And I'm like, well, nothing in here really changes. The cast, which is the people and the strangers in there, change a little bit too often. Like there's no connection with it, or at least I'm not connecting with it. But I'm not going to be over dramatic and say that I burned out from that project, but it's just like, because there was like no direction in that, it's just, I fizzled out. I ran out of steam. And here's something that a lot of us can relate with as well. For that certain Met project, one of the obstacles that I was running into was that it's a little bit dark, and the film that I was using was just not sensitive enough, which was like Tri-X mainly. But a lot of people said that I could just push it. Whenever I would mention this project, they say like push it to 800 ISO. I'm like, oh, I don't really like the look of that pushed look on Tri-X. So they're like, what if you just get an f1.4 lens? And this is like the wormhole or the rabbit hole that a lot of us can get into. It's like, oh, maybe because I can't achieve what I want in this project, maybe I should start throwing money at it. And sometimes that is the solution, but a lot of the other times, especially in my case, is that I don't need more gear. It's just have a direction, use what you have, and create something from that. And I almost spent a lot of money on like a Summilux, and that would have been so detrimental for my finances and just like not being a problem solver, like a real problem solver. I can't just throw $5,000 at the problem and be like, all right, now I figured it out, now I have a direction. No, that would have been a huge mistake. And I think a lot of us can relate with that type of thinking, where it's just like, oh, maybe if I just buy this, or maybe if I finally have this, I could finally create that one thing, when most of the times you could have done it with the things that you already have. I also think that in the middle of all of what I just said is that you can take a break and you can revisit your goals at a later time. It's not necessarily burnout, but maybe the timing is just not right now. Sometimes the art requires us to be a certain type of person to complete it. And other times it depends on us learning more about the medium that we chose to create in. Like, learn more about photography, learn from books, learn from tutorials, learn from just cracking more eggs. I don't know. A prime example that I have of this is that documentary project that I made about my friend David. That first interview was probably shot in November or December of 2023. And I think we took like 4 or 5 months off from that, or not we, but I did. I just had to take care of other businesses. I had to start filming and editing other documentaries that I was involved in. And yes, those things were great that I had to take care of. Those things needed to be taken care of. And yeah, I wasn't proud or happy that I had to take a break from David's doc, but it was just something that happened because life happens. So when we revisited this documentary 4 or 5 months later, it was actually in perfect timing because David was taking care of his own stuff as well with the project that I was documenting. He just had to figure out his own direction, his own execution, and when we came back together, it was perfect. He knew how to verbalize the idea, concept, and just all of his nebulous thoughts all into one streamlined conversation that we ended up filming for the second part of that doc. We took a break and then we revisited it and then we came back stronger. Sometimes that's just what needs to be done. All I'm trying to say is that one of the main things to prevent this awful feeling that we've experienced in burnout is to just have a direction in our creativity. This gigantic field of everything that we can try to explore, the millions of directions that we can go in. Sometimes we just need to pick a lane, stick with it, see it through the end, and then if it doesn't work out, move a little bit and adjust. But sometimes that lane we stuck in is the thing that's going to lead us to finally creating, pushing something out, or evolving as an artist. And before we close out, I want to thank the sponsor of this video, Squarespace. Squarespace provides some of the industry leading tools for making a portfolio for photographers like us who want to be taken seriously. I recently renovated my website to be more focused on my documentary work. Squarespace allows a lot of customizability, from their award-winning templates to something as simple as changing the background to black. I love how my website feels more mature, and if I have any questions or problems, I know I can contact the 24/7 customer service to get myself squared away. You can start a free trial today at squarespace.com/ChrisChew. Use my code ChrisChew at checkout for 10% off your first purchase. Thank you to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. All right, guys, thank you so much for sitting through this exhausting monologue. Like, subscribe, comment down below, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.